Welcome everyone to the Softlock Podcast. This is your first episode for July of 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Jake Eisman, and joining me is the Pepperoni Meister himself, Jonathan Kalila. Jonathan, what's up? How you feeling today? What fictional character / GIF are you feeling like today?
Dude, Left Shark?
Bro, Left Shark?
Holy shit, did you hear about that guy?
I love Left Shark, although I have heard that Left Shark is getting canceled.
Are you serious?
No, but apparently there's some problematic things with Katy Perry's new album, and then I've seen a lot of memes about people being like, Left Shark did nothing wrong type beat.
Left Shark would not have stood for it. It's actually really impressive that he was able to stay out of the ocean for that long of a time.
I think it's impressive that Left Shark was able to stand.
I also agree, and I that was like, oh fuck, when was Left Shark? 2016? I love looking up Left Shark, and it's just like the man behind Left Shark explains his virality, or it's like, what was it? I saw one that it was like, guy behind Left Shark finally breaks his silence. And it's like, what happened to Left Shark? Nothing happened to him. He was just a little silly. Man.
Enough about Left Shark.
Dude.
This is the Softlock Podcast. We are a personality-driven podcast all about video games. We do deep dives and reviews. We like to talk about the games we're playing. We like to talk about events that are going on, all the things that make games great. We talk about genres. We talk about consoles. We talk about everything gaming. But really, it's just me and Jonathan vibing. This is honestly the most we get to talk to each other. We're really good friends, so like this is kind of just a catch-up sesh if you've never been here. Today, we're just going to be reviewing games, so get ready for a lot of bullshit. This is episode 26. If we were going on a consistent schedule, that would make a year, right? I don't know. I feel like we've definitely gone over a year, but we haven't been consistently uploading. But I did look into the stats, and we've officially passed 50 hours of podcast content. That is bizarre to me. It really, like, I know we've been doing it for a while, but since we do it so irregularly and not that often, it really does feel like it's only been a couple episodes. But it's been, 26 episodes, full length, some Halo minicasts in there. It's been a lot.
Wait, is this episode is passing 50 hours, so the last one is passing 50 hours?
The last one put us over 50. I think we're at like 51 something now.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, let's shoot the confetti off now. Play the play the grunt birthday party sound. Release the dancing lobsters. Remember that?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Let's see what else. Other housekeeping. Follow us at SoftlockPod on everything. That's Instagram. That's TikTok. That's YouTube. Our next episode is going to be our mid-year recap. It's already been over 6 months since the beginning of 2024, which feels insane. And I know that's like a cheesy thing. It's like people talking about their dreams. It's like, yes, I get it. The year went fast. You don't need to talk about it. But like, Jonathan, we did our Game of the Year episode in January. Doesn't it feel like we just did it like 2 months ago?
Yeah, that's why when you brought it up, you were like, let's do a mid-year recap. And I'm like, there's no games. There's no games out. And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, there is games.
2024 got games.
2024 does have games, but it also doesn't? ? Find out next
week.
Month.
Yeah,
next week.
I don't know. Whenever we get it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, check us on Instagram, because we're going to have a poll up, but I also recently discovered that Spotify has added a true comment section, and we're also on YouTube, obviously, and all other podcast services you'd like to find us on. So wherever you're listening to us, or if you're listening to this and you're like driving or whatever, feel free to pull over the bus and just type it out. But honestly, like whenever you get around to it, in whatever way you can, let us know what the best game you played in 2024 was. Whether that's a new game that came out, Elden Ring, Final Fantasy, or just a game that you just got around to this year. Just let us know. And if it's something that you've written in with before, that honestly makes it even better, because then we're like, wow, we really got to talk about this. So yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, you want to hop into some game reviews?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Why don't you start us off with a review of a game that you enjoyed?
Game that I enjoyed? Not possible. There's no games. I've never enjoyed a game in my life, except for one. That. Yeah. No, I last episode, I talked to Smidge about Balatro, which is that indie card game that was just like released out of nowhere, by someone, like by a completely new developer, or at least new in the space.
I think he said he made games for like his friends and stuff before.
Yeah,
this is the first one he published.
It's like it's like a big one. You know, this is the first like released game I think they have created, and it's just a little card game where you play poker, and then you just try to beat a escalating score over and over again, and in the game, you have these jokers that give you bonuses, and that's it. I've explained the entire game, and somehow, not somehow, I know exactly how, it is, I'm like in love with it. I love it. I would kiss it if I had a physical copy, but it's really, really, really good because it's so easy to get into, I think. I think I said that Loop Hero was the most unique roguelike I have ever played. And I don't know if he has been dethroned quite yet, but Balatro is certainly up there. I can't think of another game that is like Balatro. Like a fucking poker roguelike. That's just like ridiculous. It's just a ridiculous concept, but it works so well. And I think in a gaming space where roguelikes are, one, completely oversaturated, and two, mostly like combat focused, Balatro is such a hit of jet. I don't know why I said that. I didn't want to say breath of fresh air, so I said hit of jet instead.
Nerd.
Yeah. It's not a hit of jet. Don't do drugs. But it is such a breath of fresh air because it's just a fucking card game with jokers that like multiply your score. You just got to keep hitting these higher score thresholds, and it just feels so good. It feels so goddamn good. And I feel like I'm smart for playing it. I feel like this is the game that if like an adult who doesn't play video games walked in on me playing, I would be like, yeah, it's poker. And they'd be like, oh, I know poker. This guy must be all right. What were you saying? Sorry.
I've been purposely staying away from Balatro because I know that it's the kind of game that I'll get hooked on and just like dump the rest of my year into. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of waiting for the mobile version to come out as well, but I'm gonna get around to it eventually. I guess my question is, I don't really get. I assume they just attribute scores to the hands, but like the hands in poker don't, like, you don't have a score. So that's something I'm wondering, is it like do your individual cards really matter that much, or is it just like finding pairs or making a flush or whatever? Like, how does
your
that
individual
work?
card? Yeah, so your individual cards and the hand you use do matter. So like poker, certain hands are just simply better than other hands. You know, like if you get a straight, that's gonna beat a two pair. At least I think. Am I wrong? Do you know?
I would just call it a pair. I don't know. I don't play a lot of poker. I'm more of a blackjack kind of guy.
Okay, well, I played a couple of poker. I do like blackjack. But blackjack's like the lonely man's game. But poker, I played a couple times, and I was always confused on how the hands work. But now playing, first of all, this taught me like a real life skill, which is kind of bizarre. Now I actually know like a decent amount of poker. Granted, this is like an altered universe version of poker that you play by yourself, but it's still like I kind of know hands now. I kind of understand how the game of poker works, when before the last time I played poker, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. But yeah, so your hand and the cards you use do actually matter. So like poker, some hands are just better than others. Like a straight is just going to be better than a pair. Or a two pair. And I think if two people put down two pairs, I believe whatever's like the highest number is like takes priority or something like that, because if two people have two pairs, then like what the fuck are you supposed to do, really? At least that's how I think it works. I might have to brush up on that. But regardless, we're talking about Balatro. But also in Balatro, the card you use specifically matters as well as the hand, because you get chips, right? So the way it works is that your score for each hand is calculated by the amount of chips times the multiplier for the hand. And then after that, it's all the special jokers. So, as for an example, a 2-pair is going to be like, I think 15 chips, base chips, times 2, right? 2-pair. Or it might be 3 because it's 2-pair. I'm not sure. But let's pretend it's 15 times 2, okay? If I have a pair of 4s and a pair of 2s, I'm going to get 8 chips for the 2 4s and then 4 chips for the 2 2s. So then my multiplier is now, let's see, 8 plus 4, 12. It's going to be 22 now. So it's going to be 22 times 2 now. So that's how it works. And then you can upgrade your hands with celestial cards. So it's just these you get all these like booster packs that give you different shit. And one of the packs is the celestial packs, and it's a bunch of different like planets, and you choose the planet that corresponds with the hand that you want to level up. And I don't know, I'll pick I think it's like Uranus, which is the 2-pair.
Dude.
Yeah. So, finger snaps right there. And then each level, it'll go up like another 15 chips and then plus a multiplier. So now level 2-pair is going to be like 30 chips times 3. That's a significant upgrade already. And it just keeps going. It just keeps going. So that's how the score for each hand is calculated. And then usually you have like 3 to 5, depending on the deck you choose, depending on the jokers you have and other things you've taken. You have basically 3 to 5 hands to break that score cap, that score threshold. And then you also have a certain number of discards that you could just freely just get rid of cards and then replace them with more cards to try to get the hand that you really want. Yeah, so that's how it works. That's how it works.
Cool. It looks really satisfying, and seeing the number go up and up and up, I'm sure is great.
It's extremely satisfying, and it's a game that you can really just like, I'm just gonna turn it on, fuck around, and just play around. Yeah. I feel like there's less and less of games like that these days. I know you do that. You can do that easier than me. But if I'm like playing a game, most of the time I just want to be like, all right, I'm dialed in. I'm playing the game. Especially if there's a story. Especially if there's like tense combat or something like that. I don't fucking know. I just kind of want to be focused and just like take it all in. But Balatro just has that type of vibe to it. It's almost like desktop poker, that comes with like Windows 97 solitaire and shit like that. That's kind of how it feels, like a replacement for desktop solitaire, where you could just really like just start playing. You just play it on a road trip. It doesn't really cost that much investment. It doesn't really demand that much attention for you to get the full experience. I played maybe like 5 or 10 hours, and then I was like, okay, I have absorbed everything I needed. Now I'm just gonna play to my heart's content and just like go with it. Listen to a podcast, play it on the train, on your break at work or something. Play a little like a hand of Balatro. It's great. It's great for that type of thing. And I dearly love it. I like the music. There's only one track. There's like one track in the whole game.
Doesn't it change vibe though?
Yes. It's like modular. I don't know if that's the correct term for it, but it does change vibe depending on like where you are. So it'll sound different on the menu screen than it'll sound on when you're actually in the middle of doing a blind. And then it'll sound different when you're in a store, and then a completely different tracks will play when you open up certain packs that kind of like correspond with the packs. So you get like the celestial pack, and it'll be like, whoa, it'll change. It's like cute. And I never get bored of that song. You should listen to it, because it's just like a groove. It's just kind of there in the background, and doesn't upset me in any way. It's just like, ooh, it's good. I have it like stuck in my head frequently because it has such like a good intro. When you launch the title screen, it has such a good introduction where it starts.
Even
with
I can like hear it. I've heard it a couple times and I already know what you mean. Like I can picture it in my head.
It's great. It's so good. Like I'm thinking about it right now and it's giving me like goose pimples. And also, well, the game looks good too. It has I usually hate fucking CRT filters, but I like the CRT filter that it has on this one. Feels like it goes with the game. I like the way the game looks and the way the game feels. On the Switch version, at least, it has the HD rumble, and it is used excellent. It has such an excellent feeling to it. You feel when you finish my favorite thing is when you finish like a big blind that you've been like, I don't know, you use like 50 of your cards to get through this big blind, and now all your cards are going back into your deck. So the HD rumble like rumbles a little bit, has like a very subtle rumble for each card going back into your deck, and it's just like, oh yes, I love it so much. Has a different sound for when it like goes up and counts your chips. It's great. It just feels so good. It feels so good. I don't know, but I don't know if I can give it a 10 out of 10. I fucking hate rating roguelikes because the real test of a roguelike is like, am I gonna play this in like half a year? Can I, like Isaac, can I stop playing Isaac and 2 years later play one run and get hooked again for another 30 hours? I don't know. So I'm like, I've been putting off my review of Balatro because I'm like, do I give it a 9? Do I give it a 10? I can't think of any real flaws with it, you know?
I've heard a lot of scuttlebutt about it being potentially like one of the most perfect roguelites there is, because there isn't a lot that it does that like it's either for you or it's not. But if it is for you, there's nothing that you're like, oof, I didn't like that or whatever.
It's so simple. There's nothing of controversy, you know? Like, There's nothing that really fucks up. Throughout my playtime, I was never like, that's fucking stupid, that's ridiculous. I just can't think of anything. I was even like, okay, a flaw is that, you know, like many roguelikes, that it feels like kind of luck-based. And then the more I play it, the more I'm like, damn, I really don't think it's really that luck-based. I think it's very super minor luck-based. Like, you can definitely get, like, an unlucky run where you get just fucked very, like, early in the game and you just can't do anything about it. But those are few and far in between compared to roguelikes, where I feel like your only path to victory is getting lucky. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's my least favorite kind of roguelike.
Yeah, it's just a very, very intelligent game, and I'm really leaning towards giving it a 10, but I'm just hesitant, because what if like 2 years from now I start playing and I'm like, I remember this being better. But I do also got to give it something else, is that I'm just playing it. I have a problem because I have so many games on my backlog that I'm kind of like, it's almost like I scheduled out my play times for games. I'm like, okay, I should finish this up soon because I want to move on to this one, you know? And it kind of gets in the way of me enjoying the games that I play sometimes because I'm too focused on the future rather than enjoying the game in the present. Not a problem with Balatro. I have never once been like, I got to finish this soon. Oh, I think my time is up soon. I'm just playing. I'm just playing the goddamn game.
Yeah. Good for you, man. I mean, I'm glad you are in love with it, because like one of my friends was visiting town yesterday, and we were just chatting about like whatever. I forget how it even came up, and we were just like talking about games, and he was like, this is a person that he plays a lot of roguelites, so it's not surprising, but I like talk to him often enough that I'm like, I should know, like, you know, he's playing this, he's playing that, we're talking about like, if we're playing Control, or like, what do you think of that? And he's like, yeah, I have like 100 hours in Balatro. I'm like, oh. It's just that kind of game that like you can really get hooked on, and I'm glad it's good. I'm glad people like it.
And you don't really, it's not really even something you like, it's not like something that there's a lot to talk about, you know? It's another thing.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
No discourse.
It is, yeah, no discourse. And you could go on the Balatro Reddit, and other like resources are pretty interesting, because it's just like, I made this build and got 10 undecillion in one hand. And you're like, okay, that's just a thing you can do. Sure, okay, yeah, all right, whatever.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely got to check it out. I should have got it when it was on
you should.
sale. I regret it.
I think you should. I know you're thinking about getting the phone version, but you might just want to get the Switch version, you know?
Yeah, I'm kind of busy with a lot of games, though, right now. So,
yeah.
Let me tell you about some of them.
Okay!
I want to update my review of Elden Ring Shadow the Erdtree from last episode.
No.
Because last episode, I was on the third boss, I believe. Turns out, not that this is really that surprising, but I'm like 90% sure that you could do the entire DLC and only kill 2 bosses. But I just somehow managed to do them all, like, in order. I guess not necessarily in order, but like what I think is the intended order, and did it. But apparently, I've been like exploring the world and post-game and stuff, and I'm like, well, I could have skipped this area by doing this and just gone straight to the final boss or whatever, and it would be totally doable because of the special leveling system I brought up last time, where you can you don't necessarily have to level up, you can get these items, which I ended up getting all of them, and I needed all of them to beat that final boss because it is quite tough, just like everyone has been saying,
as I've seen.
So I think Shadow the Erdtree is like I said last time, it's fantastic because it's more Elden Ring, and if you like Elden Ring, you're going to like it. I actually don't think that it's the best part of the game, like how a lot of the DLCs are for like Dark Souls and Bloodborne and stuff. I really do think it's just like an average area. It looks beautiful, but I felt it was very empty compared to the base game, which I know that was criticism you had of Elden Ring in some parts. But I've played Elden Ring 4 times now, and I've gone through and really combed through everything twice, and I really feel like Elden Ring, like the Lands Between, is a masterclass of open world map design where I always felt like I was finding a dungeon or a little group of enemies that were unique, or an encampment of enemies, or like a chest bearing type. Like there was just a ton of stuff. And in the Shadowlands, it's a lot of empty fields with like a few items, and it was very noticeable.
Right, yeah, I've seen that criticism where it's like, go to desolated cemetery, fight a ton of plants, kill everything, go to the corpse. It's like the arterial leaf.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that. But it is a smaller area, so like it's not like the end of the world. I still enjoyed exploring it because it looks so beautiful and for the unique stuff that you can find in there. But there's one area where you're not allowed to ride Torrent, and it's a full-sized biome. And that was when it really set in of like, oh, there's nothing here. But
that
honestly,
does suck.
That is my only complaint. I really, really loved everything else about the DLC. I think all of the Remembrance bosses are probably my favorite ones in the entire game. Even comparing them to like Melania and Radon and all the base game like big bosses. There's even a few that I think are probably my favorite Souls bosses in general. They are excellently designed, and I think, to be honest with you, I think this DLC was really built around the, like, Elden Ring base game was here's a lot of really, really excellent level design to get you from dungeon to dungeon, constantly level up and upgrade your items. I think the DLC is really like, let's just funnel players to these bosses that we spent forever perfecting, and it shows. And they're really, really, really fun. And besides the final boss, I don't think any of them were unfair or overly hard. And even the final boss, once you get all the items that level you up, completely doable. I think I did it in like 40 tries or something, which is a lot, but it's not undoable. So
yeah, I've seen so much about the final boss, and I just think it's still so funny what the final boss is.
Yeah, it's a funny boss. It's a weird situation, and it is unfair. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but it is also doable. You know, you just have to beat your head against the wall for a little bit. It's not. I honestly think Orphan of Cause might be harder because him, it's like you can memorize his patterns, so when you fuck up, it hurts. But in this one, it's like he's just kind of doing shit that you can't predict or memorize, and it kind of takes the fun out of it in some places.
I see.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still a good boss. I would still like rank it in the upper echelon of video game bosses. Maybe just not in FromSoft history.
Right. I'm curious. Did you fight that big wicker man thing?
No, I never did because I didn't. Whenever I play through games like this, I really don't want to look up guides, and then I'll look up a guide afterwards, so I know how to kill them now. But in the game, I never found any NPC or any message or anything that told me the secret to killing them, because there's like a thing you have to do.
Oh, okay.
You can't just run up to them and hit them in the legs, because they're invincible on their legs, so...
Yeah, that was the thing. I was like, ooh, I want to play this game. Because it got a big thing. I like big thing.
They are huge, and you can see them anywhere. Like, you just look in the distance, and you can see... There's one at the very beginning of the game. You can see it from almost the entire map. And they will chase you forever, and they have really long range attacks. So for the most part, I just avoided them.
It reminds me of, what is it, the big turtles?
Yeah, the big turtle and then the big crab.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, they're not turtles. They're the cathedral, the Colosseum. What the fuck are they? Mausoleums. Walking mausoleums.
Yeah, they're turtles. They're
Yeah, they look like turtles. Yeah. I like them, though. I like them. They're silly.
Yeah, and then I always feel bad for them, but, I still took them down. They don't die, I guess. And then the last thing I'll note is that I think the story in the DLC is really, really good. I already was a fan of the Elden Ring story. I think it stands out a little more than in FromSoft's other games. I think it's a lot more pronounced, and if you follow along and read some item descriptions and stuff, you can really piece things together a lot more accurately, I think, or at least with less wiggle room for interpretation than the other ones.
Right.
And in the DLC, last time I was saying how it's more of like a forward narrative, and it is. But what I discovered is that there's less NPC, there's more NPCs per capita, I guess. Like there's a lot of NPCs in the DLC, but it's not unreasonable. Like you can remember who all of them are and like where they're going to be located and stuff.
Yeah.
And all of them are very, very interconnected in ways that I was really impressed by. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, but towards the end of the game, there's a moment where pretty much every main NPC's story converges, and your decisions for each of their quest lines really make a difference in how that plays out. And then there's also like side NPCs for the other areas of the game that are also connected in their own way, that are like completely unrelated. And it's like these three major side quest clumps that all go together, and it was really satisfying to see them play how it played out, and then look up like, how does this play out if I did this, or how are things different if I did this, and it seems really, really well thought out.
Yeah, I do like that. I like the quest design in. Well, I was gonna say I like the quest design in most From Software games. I don't. That's not true, but I kind of like the way the only frame of reference I have it in kind of like, because it reminds me of Sekiro. Sekiro has much more down to earth like plot lines and quest lines, I think, specifically because you're like Wolf is actually a character rather than most of the other every other FromSoft game. You're just like an avatar, but in Sekiro you're a character, so you kind of get like a new way of questing essentially. So I like it when they kind of think outside the box. Yeah,
I think you should definitely play the DLC based on your enjoyment of Elden Ring. Like, anyone who liked Elden Ring, I think will really like this. There's just some growing pains and some things you kind of have to deal with. That's all.
Well, I had growing pains with the base game, so I think I'll be fine.
Yeah, like it's weird because a lot of the criticisms you had are what I have of the DLC, but I really didn't feel that much in the base game. So maybe I'm just like have rose tinted glasses, but even though I did just replay it recently, maybe I just am like nostalgia blind or whatever, even though it's only a couple of years old. I don't know. So yeah, definitely check her out.
Yeah, I'll have to do a second playthrough and see if I love it.
Mm-hmm. Also, because of the way you can level up, you can just do New Game Plus and it's not going to fuck you over like in the other games where the DLC will be super hard. Yeah.
I do like the sound of that.
Yeah, I didn't. I did a whole new playthrough, but I've read a lot of people saying, yeah, because of the way you level up, New Game Plus is perfectly doable.
I miss the Dark Souls 2 DLCs. I'm very nostalgic over them.
Yeah, I played them all at once, so I don't even remember what areas were DLC and what areas were part of the base game.
Oh man, I remember.
Oh, was the snow area DLC?
The snow area,
God
the Frozen Lois, and then there's the Broom Tower, and then there's the Sunken City.
I did like the city.
The Sunken City is like brain melt. Don't know where I am. Never know where I am.
It was really cool though.
Yeah, it was.
Tell me about some of the other games you've been playing.
I've been playing this game called Balatro recently. No. I played every Mega Man Zero game. All 4 of them. There's 4 of them. There is ZX and ZX Advent.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of. I was like, I feel like there's more than 4.
I'm not going to count those for right now because I want to be able to say I played every Mega Man Zero game, and ZX and ZX Advent are different games. IMO, like a different series. It's like a continuation, but well, spoiler alert, fucking Zero blows up and dies at the end of Zero 4. It's like there's like, okay, the thing about Mega Man is that the story, don't give a shit. No one gives a shit about the story because it's the same thing every time. It's original Mega Man series. Dr. Wily is on the loose. Mega Man kill 8 robots. Okay, Mega Man kills 8 robots, blows up Dr. Wily. Dr. Wily's like, and he leaves. And then it happens all again in the next game. It's always Dr. Wily. It's never not Dr. Wily. Except I think maybe Mega Man 10. Was it 9? Robo-Flu, Robo-Enza. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember when dude, that was crazy. Mega Man 9, the main plot point is that there's a disease affecting robots called Robo-Enza. And I was just like, this is awesome. But, okay. But then the Mega Man Zero games, it's always Sigma. I'm sorry, Mega Man X games, it's always Sigma. Every single fucking boss at the end of the game, it's Sigma in some way, shape, or form. Sigma's back.
Sigma balls, dude.
Sigma balls, and frankly, I forget why Sigma is even evil. Like Dr. Wily is kind of like a nut, but Sigma is like a war criminal, and I don't even know why he's evil. It doesn't matter. It's just Sigma's on the loose. He's gonna drop like a planet onto Earth. So go fight 8 robot masters and beat Sigma. Okay, but then Zero. The Zero games throw the formula out the fucking window. First of all, they don't do the 8 robot masters, except for in Zero 4 they bring it back. But the Zero games, they don't do the 8 stages with the 8 robot masters. They do like missions. It's like shorter. At least in the first one, they're like shorter missions where it's like go to the desert and fight the robot forces. And then you'll get like a boss at the end or something like that. But there's like a ton of them. They're not like just like 8. There's like a ton of missions. So it changes up the formula of the Mega Man games. And there's like a hub world. And there's like a ranking system. And it's just really weird. You don't get upgrades when you beat a robot master or one of the bosses. You don't get like a big upgrade like in every other Mega Man game. It's just fucking weird. And I gotta say, playing as Zero is cool because he has like that, close quarters combat with his Z-Saber, and you get like a couple of other weapons throughout the games. So you get like a rod that extends 3 times for a triple attack, and then you get like a boomerang shield that reflects weapons, which like sucks. The weapon sucks. But that's it. There's no like consistent upgrades that you get. Like you kind of just get your weapons, and then that's sort of it. You can, like, when I think of Mega Man games, the best Mega Man games in my opinion, there's lots of collectibles out in the world. Mega Man X games. In the world, you find like, armor piece this armor piece like will change how I play the game now. Oh, I found a sub tank in the world. Ooh, I found I don't know, like a secret. I found the secret Hadoken. Or the secret Shoryuken. That's cool. You just find those out in the world. Maybe sometimes you have to do like a specific thing, but you just find them out in the world. You just have to know how to do it, and it kind of gives you an incentive to go back to earlier levels because you're like, okay, this something might be there. I know I missed a collectible there. Let me go back to that level, experience it again, and it's a fun level. And then when you beat a boss, there's like an incentive to beating a boss because you get something new. Ooh, I got a new sub-weapon. That's really cool. I like getting new sub-weapons. I like new shit. That's awesome. You don't get that in Zero. You don't get that. At best, you get a experience system where the more you use a specific weapon, the more hits of a combo you have. Like the longer you have a combo for a weapon and other like special abilities. And then there's also the elf system, which is the cyber elves, which is fucking ridiculous. It's like another way to upgrade your character, where instead of like finding your upgrades out in the world, you find cyber elves dropped from enemies most of the time, and then you use currency to upgrade those elves, and then you use the elves to give you usually a pretty negligible upgrade, frankly. And that's it. And that's like the best of what you get in these games, and like the worst of what you get in these games is just like almost zero progression.
This
in Mega Man, yeah,
bizarre to me because
it's completely bizarre.
Trying to picture it, and it's like, so can you do these levels in any order, or do you have to do them in a specific order?
You usually get like they usually come in waves. Most of them come in waves where they're like, here's a batch of 4. Okay, here's an intermission after you do those 4, where you have to do like 1 or 2 stages in a row. And then here's another batch of 4, maybe a batch of 3. Then there's another intermission. Then there's another like batch of 3, and then the final missions of the game. Mega Man 04 has 8 Robot Masters and 8 stages, which was nice. Which was nicer because it was like more in like usual territory. But most of them don't do that, which is like fine, but you just don't get anything. I like Mega Man games with progression. Mega Man games are short, so the constant progression and the short but really tight level design, packed level design, really nice. Mega Man 1-0 is just like, I'm not even lying, it's like actually bad because it's just so boring. And it's so contained. It's too contained. And there's really just almost nothing to it.
I guess I'm just confused because it's like, why would they make it have RPG elements if it's like there's no standard progression? Because now, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, am I supposed to play this level over and over again? Like, what if I don't know. It sounds like they're setting themselves up for failure to like trip over themselves at every step.
Yeah, that's kind of how it feels like, because that's kind of how it ends up being. The thing is, I'll get into this in a second, but the Zero games are actually very well liked. For a pretty good reason, I think, but I'll get into that in a second, because I want to talk about the systems of the game, because like the gameplay is good. In general, the gameplay and the level design and the combat is just like good, except for in 0-1. I fucking hate the level design in 0-1. You just kind of walk in a straight line for like almost every single level. It's really boring. So I don't like how 0-1 does it. But a big problem in 0-1, I was actually so mad. It encourages grinding. All the Zero games kind of encourage grinding. Can you fucking imagine a Mega Man game where you have to grind? What the
grinding
fuck?
Is beating the level. You die and go back to the beginning, and then you have to go through it again. That's the grinding.
That's the grinding. But like, you lose all your shit when you do that. So it's like the way the thing about Zero is, like I said, so the most substantial upgrades you get in Zero are the cyber elves, and you use energy crystals, which is kind of similar to like the medals and whatever in previous Mega Man games, which is, you know, a fine system for most of the time, right? Mega Man 8 probably did a shop system the best, because you find like parts out in the world, you buy parts, and you can easily afford them, but you have like a limit on how many you can get. So, I mean, they really change up how the game works. So they really kind of encourage you to do multiple playthroughs to try getting different medals and trying out different medals. And that's really cool. But in 0-1, you can get all the medals, all the upgrades of the Cyber Elves. The problem is you just have to grind for it because they're so expensive, and you simply do not get as many E-crystals as you should. So I grinded in Mega Man 0-1 for probably maybe an hour and a half to try to get some health upgrades, because the game is challenging. And if I didn't want to just keep on trial and erroring until I got every boss battle perfect, which, again, not against that type of level design, but it just didn't really work for me in this one, because I just didn't really like how 0-1 was just going in general. And then, so I played probably an hour and a half of just grinding in one area, because there's no reason to go back and replay levels, because there's nothing to find out in the levels again. So your best bet is just go to an area that has an enemy that constantly respawns and has a consistent drop rate of E-crystals, and go there. And that's your best way of grinding the game, essentially. So I was in one area killing the same enemy for an hour and a half to get a couple of health upgrades, and that was half of my playthrough of Mega Man 0. What the fuck is up with that?
Miserable sounding.
It was extremely miserable. And I really did not like Mega Man 0-1. Mega Man 0-2 and 3, instantly better, because they made the upgrades much more affordable. I was just kind of playing through the game naturally. I was able to afford a decent amount of upgrades. 3 was fine, because 0-2 and 0-3 were better because it had better level design, better combat. A couple of different weapons were really cool. 0-2, here's another thing that kind of fucking pisses me off. They replace your secondary weapon every game. So you have, in each game, you get you have your Z-Saber. You have the Z-Saber in every game. And then you get the triple rod in 0-1, which is your secondary. It has longer range. It's like a spear. But it's slower, but you can kind of do the Castlevania, omnidirectional whip sort of thing with it, and that's really cool. It's a very good weapon. I liked it quite a bit. And then they fucking take it away in Mega Man 0-2, and they give you this chain instead. And the chain is still pretty cool. It still functionally works like the triple rod, because you can do it in omnidirections, but it's like a chain. It's more like a whip. And then it can latch onto walls, and you can use it for platforming. So there's a lot of platforming segments and hazards that you have to use the chain to get through. It was really unique, really interesting. I really liked it quite a bit. And you can tug enemies closer to you, like Scorpion in Mortal Kombat, pull big blocks, and solve some puzzles. It was cool. It's just a cool thing. And then they fucking take it away in Mega Man 0-3, and they give you the recoil rod, which was slow and clunky. It felt weird. I didn't like it at all. And then you also get the shield boomerang in 1-3, which is this thing that you just hold it out in front of you, and you do this Star Wars lightsaber spin. It reflects all the projectiles at you back to enemies, which is fine. But you can't attack with it normally. You have to wait until you charge up the move, and then you can do this really clunky attack. It's just not a good weapon. And that's in every game, of course. Of course, it's in 1-3. It has this fucking shield boomerang. And you also get a gun, which is I've never used it. It's so lame. And then in Mega Man 0-4, they take away the shield boomerang, and then they take away your rod weapon, and they give you the Z-Knuckle instead, which is this weapon, which is barehanded, and you just punch enemies with it. It's super slow and clunky, but if you kill an enemy with it, you steal their weapon, which was really cool, because there's a ton. It does. It sounds cool, because every enemy has a unique weapon. Either it's a projectile, it's a melee weapon, and that's awesome. That's a really cool idea, but again, they're all kind of situational, and none of these weapons, except for probably the triple rod. I really like the triple rod more than the Z-Saber. None of them are as good as the Z-Saber. Z-Saber is fast, it's powerful, it has combo potential. There's a combo mechanic where, in most Mega Man games, you shoot the enemy or shoot a boss, he has an invincibility frames, there's a combo system where if you do like a flurry of attacks, they don't have invincibility frames, so you can do like a big chunk of damage, which is really cool.
Neat.
So no reason not to pick the Z-Saber in almost every single fucking scenario.
Well, it is kind of his thing. So it's like they gotta make it good.
It is. I know you have to make it good, but like you made it too good, or you made all the other weapons too shit, and you just made us not want to use them. The chain in 02 doesn't have combo potential because you can't do triple attack with it like you can in Mega Man 01, because the rod does like 3 attacks. You send it out, and then it sends out further, and then it sends out again even further. That has a combo. No combo for that shit in Z1. I mean in Z2, the chain weapon. Ridiculous. But so what makes everyone like the Zero games then? Why do the Zero games have such high ratings on everything that I can find? Because the gameplay is tight as fuck. That's why. The gameplay is tight as fuck most of the time. It's very challenging, and it encourages you to use the Z-Saber and go through levels and be as proficient as possible. So it's one of those games that if you like the gameplay and you're okay with going through the game like multiple times, you can get like fucking S rank and everything and go through it and just destroy the game no problem with the Z-Saber. Beat the game in like 30 minutes if that's what you're into. But if you're not into it, then just go fuck yourself, basically.
My hands hurt thinking about playing a tight game like that on GBA, because like it's hard to use that little D-pad. Are you playing on GBA, or do you have a collection?
No, I'm doing the ZX collection on the ZX collection on Switch, which is the best way to play it because it also gives you this mechanic called the save assist, where it kind of just gives you like checkpoints instead of making the game function how it usually does. Wait, okay, let me talk about this now, because you kind of have, if you're like a person and you have things to do, you have other games to play, then you're going to want to use the save assist. Maybe if you were a kid in 2004 and 01 was the game you got for Christmas, and that was the only game you're going to get for the next like 6 months, this would be more reasonable, I think. But 0 does this fucking thing where you were punished so much in 0. There's the ranking system. I talked about the ranking system earlier, right? The ranking system, it like ranks how long you took on a level, how much damage you took, how much of the percentage of the mission objective you did. So sometimes when you enter a mission, you'll have like, destroy these generators. You have to find all the generators. Okay, and it'll rank you on that. Then it ranks you on how many elves you used, right? So your elves, you get like a 15-point bonus if you have 0 elves. If you're just playing fucking, completely milquetoast, like nothing on you, right? The more elves you use, the less that bonus goes away, and then you can go into the negatives for using the cyber elves that the game gives you. What the fuck is up with that? Right? That kind of pisses me off. It does, and it's like, why are you punishing me? I don't like it when games punish me for giving me this like resource, and it's different from, I don't know, the super guide in like Donkey Kong Country or like Luigi mode in the Mario games, because it's like, okay, the game is like, oh, you're having trouble, here's Luigi. This is just like a main mechanic of the game. There's like, how many fucking cyber elves are there? There's like 60 cyber elves in Mega Man like 0, 1 to 3. There's like 60 cyber elves that all do different things. Am I just gonna be like, okay, I don't want to use this entire part of the game, I'm done. I'm not going to use that because I want to get a higher rank. And it's like, okay, you can do that, but the game is going to be harder. And it's like, okay, that's fine. The game is going to be harder, more of a challenge. I'll just die more. But if you're not using save assist, which just kind of loads a save point, literally just what is it called in emulators? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like a save
reload
state
point. Yeah, save state. It like loads like a save state to this checkpoint that you saw in the world, and it doesn't count your death, because if you're playing it like it usually is, when you die, your rank goes down. And in most of the 0 games, in like 0, 2, and 3, if you want the EX skills after you beat a boss, the EX skills are the closest things you get to like sub-weapons from the X series or the original Mega Man series. If you want to do that, you have to have your rank A or higher to an S. And that's really fucking difficult. And when you die and you lose points, that just makes it harder. So that doesn't really incentivize me to just like play in hard mode and just die over and over again and just get better. That incentivizes me to reset the game when I've died too much and my score goes below the A threshold. Here's another fucking thing. It's not individually ranking. Your ranking is not like, oh, I got an A rank on this stage, I got a C rank on the other stage. It's an average. So if you start playing the game and you get like a D rank on the first like 4 stages, and then it clicks for you and you get an S rank on every other stage, you're not gonna rank up higher than like C. And you're gonna get 0 of the EX skills, you're gonna miss out on so much of the content, and you're just fucked. What's up with that, dude? It's like, I just don't understand the design philosophy. What the fuck was that about? Why are you putting so much shit in the game and then telling me not to use it? And then the stuff that I can unlock in the game, you're like, you better be perfect or else you're fucked. And there is a couple of cyber elves out there. It's like, I temporarily raise your ranking to A for the whole mission. It's like, okay, this is a get out of jail free card. No matter what I do in this mission, I'm gonna get an A. That's fine. That's like cool or whatever. But again, it's like a crutch, because then your elf ranking goes down, and then there's only like 3 of them, so you can only do it 3 times. So realistically, you're not getting all the EX skills unless you really perfect this fucking game. And that pisses me the fuck off, because that is like, imagine in the Mega Man X games, if you got like, if you went down to half health in any boss fight, you can't get their sub weapon. You'd be like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah, that sounds bad. Sounds real bad.
It's too demanding. It is too demanding to a casual gamer, I think. You are missing out on so much. I believe when people were younger and this was one of the only games that they had, I think that's better. But in the modern gaming scape, where there's so much availability for so much games to play, I don't think that this is really worth a lot of people's time, unfortunately. I do gotta say, 0-4 is much better, because they took out this I mean, the ranking system is still there, but they kind of took out the way it works, because instead you can just get your EX skill from your enemies if you just play the mission on hard mode, which is when there's like advantageous weather for the boss. So it's like, oh, this is the thunder enemy, I'm gonna go when there's a thunderstorm. And then the stage changes, which is really cool. Very unique level design in Mega Man 04. And then the boss will change. That's really cool. Automatically get the EX skill. Too bad that the EX skills fucking suck in 04.
No.
So it's just, it's just a mess. You know what isn't a mess, though? The story. Story's really good, and I'm pissed off. The story is really fucking good. Isn't that, like, you never expect a Mega Man game to have a good story. It just kind of, like, is there. No, the story's, like, really good. In most of them. One thing is that Zero talks. He's like a character, and he's an interesting character because he's so like serious and down to business and like a cool. I know he kind of looks silly in his artwork.
He's
for the
Shadow
Zero
the
games.
Hedgehog.
He's got like, he's got like a chibi look, but yeah, he's like Shadow the Hedgehog. He's like a cool dude. He's very serious, and he always has like conviction in what he's saying. The problem with Mega Man, X rather, in the X series, is that he's always like, am I doing the right thing for like 8 games? He's like, I don't want to kill people. I want there to be peace. Am I doing the right thing? But Zero is so sure of himself and never questions anything he's doing. And that's just such a great change of pace. And like I said earlier, there's an ending. Zero fucking blows up and dies at the end of the game. And that's like it. There's no like, the villain, like his eyes glow in like a post-credits scene. It's over. It's done. The Zero series is done. The conflict is over. Zero's dead. That's it. There's an ending, which is also completely bizarre for a Mega Man game.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Zero was probably like an experiment for Capcom, because if I'm not mistaken, it was probably the first mainline Mega Man that was on a handheld, right? I don't think there were any Game Boy ones.
there was Game Boy ones. They had a whole series of Game Boy ones actually. Here's the thing about the Game Boy ones. This is fucking ridiculous. The Mega Man. So there's like. Let me look this up right now. Mega Man Game Boy games. The thing is, Mega Man. They're all like. Mega Man 2, Mega Man, Mega Man 2, Mega Man 3, and it's just the numerical in their official title, like how they're categorized in like just the universe. It's like Mega Man 2, like numerical 2. But then when you're in the game in the title screen, it's Mega Man 2, the Roman numerals.
Right, yeah.
The Mega Man games on Game Boy are just Mega Man and Mega Man 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it's just they have Roman numerals as their official title.
Are these ports?
I don't think so. I think they're completely original.
That's bizarre.
I think it's a lot of like recycled shit, I'm pretty sure, but they're like mostly original from what I remember.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, so I will not play it.
So you only have ZX left outside of like EXE and Battle Network and stuff, right? You're like almost done?
Yes, I'm almost done, and I'm not playing the Battle Network games. I can't fucking do it. I can't. Because it's like, okay, I can deal with these. I can deal with these games. I did, like, I know I'm complaining a lot about Zero, but I did, like, enjoy my time with most of these games. I think I gave Zero 1 a 3. I gave Zero 2 and 3 a 5, because they're just like, they're fine, whatever. And then I gave 4, I think, a 7. Or did I review 4? I don't know if I actually gave, I don't know if I finished reviewing 4. Yeah, I'll have to see, but I'm probably giving it like a 7 or a 6. I did it like 4, quite a bit. So I did like enjoy my time with it, but just like thinking about it, it's one of those games where you think about all like the systems, because the core gameplay is good, but if there's so much shit in the game that is not good, that just surrounds it. It's like driving like a car where it has like a great engine. Like this is it's my car. It's my car from 2 years ago. Remember my car?
Yep.
It's like, oh yeah, this car drove really fucking well, until the end. But this car drove really fucking well. Everything else is broken. Everything else is broken. The peripherals fucking suck. The car's falling apart, but goddamn, that engine's good. That's what the Z games are. And I'm gonna play ZX. I'm gonna play ZX Advent. Heard those are really good. I've seen some wacky shit in those games, so they look kind of more up my alley, frankly. But we'll fucking see. Because talking about this is one of the games that pissed me off when I'm talking about. Because what the fuck were they doing? Take out the systems and put your efforts into making a better game.
Yeah, Capcom, go back to your 10, 15-year-old GBA franchise and redo it.
Fix it. Yeah, fix it for me, because the only ones playing is me.
You're either a Mega Man person and you will get some enjoyment out of all of them except for maybe the weird PS2 ones, or you're not a Mega Man person. And at that point, like, they don't need to make any more. There's so many available to you on every console. Just go play the old ones if you like Mega Man.
Yeah, there's so much Mega Man for you to consume if you're a Mega Man person. And like I was saying, I'm not gonna play. And they're ported to modern consoles now. There's like 30 games you can play just out of whim. But again, not playing Battle Network, because Battle Network is too long and there's so many of them. There's like 8 of them or 6 of them. And I think they started doing that shit that Pokemon does, where they make 2 versions of them, and I just can't do it. I can't do it.
Fair. Well, I'm excited to see the Mega Man journey come to an end. It's been a long time coming.
I'm not. I feel like a part of me is going to be lost. The Mega Man games were such an easy way for me to fill out my year. It's like, ooh, I played 100 games this year. 20 of them were Mega Man games that I beat in an hour. But, it just fills out my list. Also, I think we spoke about Zero for like 30 minutes.
Well, you were reviewing 4 games. So.
Yeah, I can't believe how mad I got. I need to get water.
Okay.
I'll be back in a second. Yep. I'm like actually hurting. Oh my god. All right.
That was heated.
That was very heated. Can you talk now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about Zenless Zone Zero. ZZZ.
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
Fucking, okay. PSA. Everyone out there, you don't know what this game is. It's the new Hoyoverse game. It's the Genshin Impact. It's people make Genshin Impact. It's their new game. If you look it up online, you're going to see it. People call it, for the shortened, they call it ZZ0. It's just 3 Z's. Just call it ZZZ. Don't do that. It makes me really mad. I don't know. For some reason, that bothers me more than anything I'm going to review in this game. I just want to say that. But yes, this is the Genshin Impact people. Was that?
Is that better or worse? Is that better or worse than VVVVVVV?
I'd rather have 3 Z's. I always forget how many V's there are. It's easy to remember there's 3 Z's, okay, people?
Okay.
Yeah, so this game has been in development for a really long time. So yeah, Genshin Impact came out, what, 2020, 2019? Probably 2021 maybe. And it's,
really? Has it? It feels like it's been out longer.
It was definitely over the pandemic is whenever it came out. Because I played it when it came out. I think Genshin Impact is a bad game with a lot to love in it. I did enjoy my time with it. They're all gacha games. I believe they're made in China, so there's a lot of weird like monetization stuff that they have to get around with laws, and the meme is that all the characters are like pretty girls, but like they're not egregious like some games like Nikkei or anything like that. They're just like,
oh dude,
a lot of them have really good character design, and ZZZ specifically is leaning a lot more into like the gay community as well as a lot more male characters, so they're at least improving in like not being as obvious about it, I guess.
Interesting. Gay characters.
I mean, there's gay characters in their other games as well, and I haven't gotten far enough in ZZZ to know if it's like, canon, but it's very obvious what they're doing with some of them.
Interesting. I thought that was like a big no-no in
I
China.
thought so too. That's why I think it's implied very heavily, and then in localization they make it a lot more obvious.
Okay, I see.
But either way, Genshin Impact, it's just a Breath of the Wild clone, but there's a lot of really interesting stuff with the way their combat works in that game that I wanted to like, but I just didn't, where there's like a lot of interesting interactions between the elemental effects and the different types of damage, like pierce or slash, or I forget what it is, it's been a long time, but different types of damage and different elements, and how your characters kind of play off of each other in that way to combo and take advantage of the enemies. And I really liked it. But I think the game overall is just incredibly empty and boring. And I know they added a lot of lore in the updates and stuff or whatever, but it just couldn't hook me. And then Honkai Star Rail, which is their game that came out after that, has a lot of the same stuff with like the elements and the damage and stuff, but it's a turn-based game. And I think there's this weird trend in mobile gacha games they're like, we want to be turn-based because it's a lot easier to play on a phone. But it's like pretend depth, if that makes sense. Like in a good turn-based RPG, I feel like even if you're outmatched and your team is fucked up, you at least have your items and you have like synergies that can maybe, like this is a 50-50, am I going to scrape by or whatever. In Honkai Star Rail, I feel like you basically have the right team for that mission or you don't, and that determines whether you win or fail, and you don't really have to pay attention to what you're doing as much until you get like really far into it, which I never did because it was very boring at the beginning.
Yeah.
But they kind of shot themselves in the foot, for at least me, and I'm certain a lot of other people, with Honkai Star Rail, because they announced Zenless Zone Zero at Summer Game Fest right after Honkai Star Rail came out. So I was like, I'm not going to play that game. This game looks fantastic. Because every trailer for ZZZ, it really did. Like, I'm like, wow, this looks like a real game. Like a good game with good animation and good fidelity. And yeah, I know it's a gacha game that's going to play on mobile, so we'll have to see about that. But I was very into it because it looks like a competent action game. It's a DMC style light, like very light, like more of just like a hack and slash kind of action game. And its main thing that it's got going for it is that you can control multiple characters and tag them in and out like Marvel vs. Capcom style. And then they combo off each other with their elements and their types of damage, like Genshin Impact. But instead of it being a weird open world game, it's just like a, short mission-based action game. So I'm like, yeah, that is the one for me. I'm into this one. I'm actually going to give it a fair chance, and so far I have. I don't know how many hours I have into it, but I'm almost done with chapter 1. There's 3 chapters right now. And I think it's a good game. I will say now, I think it's a good game. It does come with all the baggage that a Hoyoverse or gacha game comes with, in that you will notice parts where you're pushing up against a wall because they're like, you could pay money to get past this easier. And you'll notice like there's like battle passes and stuff like that. But honestly, it's not as egregious as it is in their other games, and it hasn't impacted me whatsoever so far, at least.
Really?
Yeah. So the basic premise for the game is you're like, it's very similar to, what is that game called? with the Platinum game where you're a cop. Astral Chain.
Astral Chain. Yes.
It's a very similar concept to Astral Chain, where it's like these rifts open in the city, in a modern day city, and monsters come out in them, and then you have to go in and navigate through those rifts to get people out and whatever. But you're playing like a scoundrel. You're like you're against the law. You're going in there to like steal stuff while the rift is open, and then get out before the cops close the rift, kind of thing.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool setup. And what I find most interesting about the actual like presentation of the game is that, and I'm gonna say this, I think it is artistically interesting, but they animate the characters like they're making TikToks. All the animations are super fluid and overly acted, but that's kind of the point. And the voice acting goes along with that, where it's like very over the top. I don't think the voice acting is particularly good, at least in the English dub. But, you know, a lot of it is just text bubbles anyway.
Have you ever seen Clock Tower 3?
No, what the fuck is that?
You'll have to check. I'll need to show you cutscenes from Clock Tower 3, because Clock Tower 3 has some of the most over-exaggerated, overacted cutscenes I've ever seen in my life, and that's what I'm thinking of, and it's hilarious.
The reason I'm like not necessarily upset at it is because it's very clearly what they're going for. Like, it's on purpose. It's not like just cheesy. It is, but like I like it. I really like the way the characters move, and it runs really well on Steam Deck. 90 FPS and everything. So everything's just really smooth, and the combat animations go along with that. Like, your characters will be flipping and jumping all around the enemies and like getting down on their hands and knees and then bouncing into their stomach, and like it's really, really very, very like visually impressive. And I think you kind of have to do that whenever the combat itself is rather simple, because it can be played on a phone.
Right.
And that's fine. I really think it's fine. I think they found a good middle ground here, where it's like the combat is not Devil May Cry by any stretch of the imagination. Every character basically has a light attack and a special attack, and then you manipulate the light attack in certain ways. So like some characters, it'll be like if you hold down the attack on the 4th hit, it's a heavy, or if you like do a little bit of a gap in, like God of War style, in between your things, you'll get like a special move and stuff. But the real depth, I think, comes in from your party, where you can send in like the gunner, start far away, hit them with like a status effect, and then when they're coming, the enemy comes to hit you, you can switch your character, and that gives you iframes. So now you switched and get a little bonus. You go in there with the element that's going to combo off of that and like trigger the status effect or whatever. It's a really, really interesting balance that I think is actually good. And I don't know why I feel like I need to defend it so much, but it's just it's the kind of game that it is. I really wasn't expecting it to be this good, and it is. So I'm just trying to praise it where I can. But
well, I'm proud of you for finding the glint of glory in the Hoyoverse.
Listen, I like a lot of the way the Hoyoverse games are set up, their story, their presentation, and everything. It's just the gameplay has never gotten it for me, and this one does. So I'm planning on finishing it at least. I know these types of games have a nasty habit of never actually finishing. They just kind of keep making content for it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, when does it end?
Yeah, I don't know. So far, Chapter 1 has been quite long, and I know there's 3, so once I get to the end of that, I'll see how I feel. But it's been very well balanced as well. That's the biggest thing I think you need for a free-to-play gacha game like this, where it's not annoying if you don't stop me from progressing just because I'm free-to-play. That's what you need. And so far, I haven't felt the need to... And also, I am playing it when it comes out, so you get a lot of like bonus stuff and whatnot. But I haven't been like, wow, my characters are super underleveled. I have to go grind for like 10 hours or pay $3. I felt like a couple missions I failed or whatnot, go and like upgrade my characters, do a little like of grinding in the simulation room or whatever, and then come back and I'm good. It hasn't been bad, which that's my biggest gripe with games like this. And then
they aren't bad.
It's that they block you on. They make it unreasonably difficult just to get your money, and I feel like every single mobile game like this I've played gets that sooner rather than later, and I hate it. It
Right.
makes me hate the game. Even if I was willing to spend money on the game for like cosmetics or whatever, now I'm like, no fucking way am I gonna support this shitty ass.
Now I'm pissed at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Two more things I'll bring up that I really like, and then I'll move on. They spend their budget very well, and I think I'm looking at this more from like a creative standpoint than I don't know how like a normal person would react to this, but there's not a lot of moments with voice acting, and there's not a lot of moments that are like animated cutscenes. But whenever there is an animated cutscene, it is like super high quality. I'm not gonna say like Blizzard level animatics, but like their animation style and artistic style makes it really compelling. It looks like something you'd see in a Devil May Cry. It looks like something you'd see in Final Fantasy 16, that kind of thing. And then where you would expect there to be a lot of just like text bubble exposition text that is poorly written, a lot of those moments they have really like tightly designed like what do they call when it's a comic but it's like voice acted and has little animations, you know what I mean, like a motion comic,
Like a little animatic.
yeah, animatic kind of thing. And normally I don't like that, but they're really, really beautiful. Like the art in them is, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like the same characters that you're playing as in the game, but they look so much better, where normally I feel like that's like a cheap cop-out. I'm actually extremely impressed with the quality of them and how many there are. So like the story is compelling to me because I'm actually hooked on seeing what they're presenting to me more than just like text bubble, click through, Ace Attorney, like blah, 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 you know what I mean? There's a lot going for it. And then the last thing I like is that there is this probably half of what you're actually doing in gameplay is not combat. It's like, how do I put this? It's almost Fallout hacking, almost, where it sets you on like a train track, sort of, like a big grid-based area you can explore, and you have to go through and like hit buttons or push blocks onto buttons, and then you can teleport and take on like basically side missions to get extra materials that you can use in this hacking minigame, and then use those materials to unlock new paths that lead to loot or like side progress. It's really hard to explain, but it's really satisfying, and it doesn't seem like it's going to overstay its welcome because they're always keeping it fresh. Like I feel like a lot of the times in those like grid-based puzzle situations, by the end of it I'm like, okay, I've seen like pretty much every way you can move these blocks, and I'm kind of bored of it. So far I haven't gotten bored, so we'll see.
That is interesting. Puzzles in games like that are always, they can always be make or break.
It's shaky, hit or miss, but yeah.
Bioshock pipe puzzle.
Yeah. I mean, there is some stuff like that in here, but it's a lot more, it's easier, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you've ever been interested in one of these games, but you're like a little off-put by like the gacha nature of it, whatever, so far, I think you can totally jump into ZZZ free to play and have a really good time. So it's on mobile, it's on PC, it's on PS5, runs really well on everything so far. So I actually am going to give this a thumbs up, seal of approval to check it out.
I thought gacha was illegal now. Or was that loot boxes?
Loot boxes are illegal.
What's the difference?
I think with gacha, it's like, you know what you could get. I don't know. I really don't know what the difference is.
Maybe it's because they're free. Most gachas are free.
Yeah, but like you could get loot boxes for free in a lot of those games as well.
No, I mean like the games themselves are free.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's
I don't know.
why.
I'll have to look into that. I guess for me, the difference is that the way they do these polls in most gacha games is like, there isn't necessarily one that's like, here's everything. You just like hit the button and you'll spend money and then you could have a chance of getting anything. It's like, pick this one and you have a chance of getting these 3 characters, or pick this one and you could get like upgrade items and stuff. It's all separated, so maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, that's true. I remember the days of loot boxes being a thing, and now they're illegal.
I like loot boxes, I gotta say.
I know you do.
I understand
I like
why
loot
it's
boxes
problematic.
when they're free.
True.
You like paying for loot boxes?
Yeah, a little bit. I do. I mean, I didn't that much. I probably spent like $30 on loot boxes in my life, but I like loot boxes.
I have a place for you. It's called the casino.
I do love
And
the casino.
not only, instead of getting skins for your make-believe characters on your screen, you can get cold hard cash.
Sign me up, baby.
Is Softlock Pod pro gambling?
No.
I love gambling.
No, we aren't. Every time I've put money on a hand of blackjack, I've lost it. So I'm gonna take an anti-gambling stance right now.
Sounds like you're just gaining experience. If this is a video game, that bar would be going up. I saw a guy. Holy shit! I just remembered this. I saw a guy. I saw Jake like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. In his stomping grounds, we went to a museum. There was a guy who had a shirt, adult male, who had a shirt that said like I paused my video game to be here, and then there was like another guy who had the don't piss me off, I'm this close to leveling up, and the XP bar.
Yeah, I saw.
And I was like,
the one guy.
You did.
And I was like, what are we doing? Why?
I don't know if that's exactly what it said on the first one, but it was something to that effect, and I was like, dude, this guy's awesome.
Base, probably there with his kid.
He is probably there with his kid. His kid had the what's it? Had a spot a gamer. That fucked up caricature. Yeah, that fucked up caricature. So like a hunched back, sore thumbs from gaming. Like every symptom he had be like arched back from too much gaming, sore thumbs from pressing buttons of gaming,
orange dust from snacking while gaming.
While gaming, it's like, come on.
All right. That's my ZZZ for now. I'll get back when I finish it. Tell me about some more games.
I played both of the... I was going to say the new Star Wars games, but that's not true. I played the Dark Souls of Starcry. What the fuck am I talking about?
What is going on?
I'm getting so confused. Let me restart.
I know where your head was at, though.
I played the 2 Dark Souls of Star Wars games, Jedi Fallen Order and its sequel, Jedi Survivor, and they were pretty good. I think I talked a little bit about Jedi Fallen Order in the last episode. I didn't really talk too much about it. I didn't? Maybe I didn't. Jedi Fallen Order is... I mean, they don't do that no more, but it was like the Dark Souls of blank of Star Wars games. Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, I like Jedi Fallen Order. I never finished it, but I did like what I played of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine game. It's a bit barren. I mean, it's kind of like Sekiro, where it's about like parrying and stuff, and it's really not much of a Dark Souls game, to be honest with you. I mean, like, you die, you go back to your checkpoint.
It is like Soul-style combat, though.
I don't...
I mean, it's definitely a lighter version of it, but I mean, I think it's more Souls than Arkham or Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, it's not combo based, you know. It's like Souls is really so much about like your positioning and the enemy's like moves or whatever, but it's also about like attacking your enemy and they get like stun locked and stuff and like magic, and there's just none of that in either of the Jedi games. It's like, you know, you parry and then you kill them, and then most of the time, once you break their guard, they're like dead, at least in the first one. And overall, the first one is kind of a bit barren. You have those worlds that you could explore, but there's really not much to it. There's like not a lot of characters. The characters don't really have much personality. They're more like... The characters are more like goals rather than characters. You know, they're like... Seer Junda wants to restart the Jedi Order. Like they're like history and goals rather than like characters. I can't say anything about how they act and their thoughts and emotions and stuff like that. And then the combat, you're mostly fighting stormtroopers, and then you get like a couple of other like fauna that you fight on like weird planets, and that's kind of cool. But most of the time, it's just like the Imperial Order, which is fine. You have 2 stances. You have like the regular lightsaber, and then you get the double-sided like Darth Maul lightsaber, which is cool. But you know, I don't like using the double-sided lightsaber because I think it's slow, and you're supposed to use it in groups. But I found that The original single-bladed lightsaber is much more fun. And there's like kind of like Metroidvania aspect to it in a way. Like you do explore these worlds and you do the platforming. The platforming's cool, and you explore shit out in the world, and everything out in the world is just like you don't really get upgrades. Really, it's all cosmetics, and the world's just full of fucking cosmetics. So exploring the world is kind of like, ooh, I got another cosmetic, but they're all just like skins for your character. So it's like
and your little robot.
So it's not like, I don't know. It wasn't like super exciting to get any of the cosmetics, but I kind of got them all just like for arbitrary 100% sake, and it was fine.
Did you wear the poncho?
You know. What's that?
Did you wear the poncho?
Yeah,
that was
you get the poncho.
I wore the poncho in my game.
Yeah, and you have like a ton of skins for the poncho, but you're always gonna be with the poncho. The only thing you're changing is design and color, and that's kind of it. And then the game just kind of ends. You're just kind of like, what?
Yeah, I've heard that. It just kind of has a weird ending.
Yeah, I mean, it has a really cool like finale where Darth Vader shows up and he's like, I'm Darth Vader, and it's kind of like yeah, I know. I'm really good at that. I thought it was kind of like a ripoff sort of Rogue One. It kind of felt cheap, like the Darth Vader switch. Like, okay, we're gonna end the game with Darth Vader, and it's like, whoa, it's fucking Darth Vader. But I'm like, wait, kind of Rogue One kind of did that, and it's like, I don't know, Darth Vader's so serious and like such like a big deal that it feels like almost like a Flanderization of his character every time I see him now in new media, because it's always like Darth Vader is gonna fucking kill everyone, and that's all he does, which is fine because that's kind of what he does. But I don't know, just feels like overuse of the character, kind of losing what the character originally was, and it's whatever. And also they get away, they like foil Darth Vader at the end, which is like not what is supposed to happen to Darth Vader. So it's like, it's fine. Who gives a shit? It's fine. So yeah, it's good. It's a fine game. But then Jedi Survivor is actually really fucking good. Survivor blows Fallen Order out of the water, like in every way, every single way imaginable. Jedi Survivor is just so much better than Fallen Order. It's like, it's extremely impressive that it's such a glow up. It's such a glow up. I'm very impressed with the studio. And, Fallen Order was like, pretty good. It didn't necessarily feel like a product, but whenever there's like a sequel comes out, I'm always like, is this just going to be a product, or is this going to be like a really inspired like piece of work? And I really think Survivor is a very inspired piece of work. They made it because they had really good ideas and they knew what they were going to do, and they went forward with it, and it really worked very, very well, as opposed to it just coming out arbitrarily and no one really gives a shit about it, like so many other sequels. But no, this one, really, really good sequel. And I don't even really know where to fucking start, to be honest with you. Well, again, okay. Yeah, what?
I'm really interested to know what the differences between the games are.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So for one, I mean, the story is much more interesting. In the first one, it was very similar to, it was just like, oh, we got to get we're following these like clues left by this Jedi Master, Eno Cordova, and he's going to point us to the directions of this holocron that has the names of all these Force-sensitive children across the galaxy, and we're going to rebuild the Jedi Order. And that's kind of it. That's like, there's the MacGuffin. The MacGuffin is the entire game, and we chase the MacGuffin for the entire game, and at the very end, Cal Kestis, the main character of the game, is like, this is actually not a good idea. So he destroys it, and then the game just kind of ends. And we're like, okay. I guess that makes sense, because it's like, the whole point is like, oh, I'm going to put all these kids in harm's way again, when Cal Kestis was like, the thing about Fallen Order that is really cool, the one really, really cool thing about Fallen Order is that they show the Order 66. What the fuck is it?
I think that's it.
Execute Order. Yeah, Order 66. Kill all the Jedi. We see that from the perspective, from like a very personal perspective of a Padawan, which I thought was really cool. So, Cal Kestis gets all fucked up because all of his friends betray him, and he gets like attacked by the Imperial, literally the just formed Imperial Order from the inside out. The Jedi Order is turned into the Imperial Order like immediately in a second, and he sees that happen, like, and then the game ends where he's like thinking about it, and he has like this like trippy sequence where he's like, oh, I'm gonna raise all these kids to be Jedis, and then he kind of has this like moment where he's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm putting all these kids in harm's way, and this is just gonna be what happened to me all over again, so we should actually destroy it and let the Force kind of find these kids as it happens. Like, we should not force these kids to be Jedi to fight the Imperial Order. We should just, let them be, and like whatever happens. It would be better. And like that was cool. That was a very cool aspect of it. And now Jedi Survivor takes place like 5 or something years after Jedi Fallen Order, and now Cal has grown up a little bit. He's like in his like early 20s, mid 20s. He's a hunk of a man
because he has a beard now.
Yeah, I don't really like his default design that much, to be honest with you. When I first started playing, so Cal is like a kid. He's like a teenager in the first game. He's like he's probably not even 18 in Jedi Fallen Order. He's a kid. You could tell he's a kid. He's kind of goofy. He's kind of silly. Not like he's like kind of serious, but you can tell he's still like a kid. He's naive, but he's just trying his best. And now he's more like he's clearly more of an adult. He's not only in physical stature, but in like mental space. He's spent 5 years kind of just like doing sabotage missions against the Imperial Order. He lost a lot of friends. And Cameron Monaghan's, or is it Montague? Fuck, I always forget it. I think it's Cameron Monaghan.
It's Monaghan, yeah.
Yeah, he's the actor who portrays Cal. He does a really, really good job in Fallen Order. But in the beginning of Jedi Survivor, he puts on like this voice. He tries to make his voice like really deep and like serious. And for the first like probably 2 or 3 hours, I was like, oh, stop. Oh, it sounds so bad. Stop. I was like, it's so cringe. It was so cringe. And then he like just stops. He just like stops doing it. I don't know if he stops doing it or I just got like used to it. It's like listening to a song like in a key higher. And you're just like, oh, that sounds fucking weird. And then you just get used to it and it's not weird anymore. And you go back to the original and you're like, oh, that's weird. But like, the first like 3 hours, his voice is just so rank and I hated it. I was like, oh, I really hope he's not like trying to be cool the entire game. Does not try to be cool the entire game. And he looks like older. And the story is, there's just much more going on in the story. Like the original cast is split up and you kind of find them doing their own thing. There's a ton more characters. There's a hub world that's actually populated with like people. It's like a village rather than like an empty empty planet that no one has been on in like a decade or something like that. So that is just like immediately very, very cool. Story has a lot of twists and turns, multiple villains that are very interesting. Even like a really big plot twist at the very end that is very effective, I think. It's just a very good plot. The gameplay, there is different styles now called stances. So you have like the single-bladed lightsaber, then you have the double-bladed lightsaber, and then you have a two-handed, like you hold a lightsaber in each hand, so you have a dual-bladed stance, which is really cool. Then you get a stance that is a blaster, so you have a gun in your offhand, and you kind of like do rapier jabs instead of like the normal like slashes like a lightsaber. Cool. And then the last stance you get is crossguard, which is really, really cool, where the blade, you kind of get like the Kylo Ren like side blasts outside, but they're much smaller, and your blade gets longer, and you you have a double-handed stance where you hold the blade with two hands and you kind of wield it like a great sword, and that is really, really cool. So immediately you got 5 stances that are all very unique, very cool. The upgrade trees are much, much better. The force abilities are much better. In the first game, you really just had force pull and force push, and then Cal had this thing called stasis, where he like freezes shit, which was really like you could just cheese most of the game with that. And it was just like, I don't know, it was whatever. They took that out of the game. Instead, the stasis is like a ultimate ability where you charge up a meter and then you do like an AoE stasis effect where everyone slows down until you hit them once. So it's basically just like a get out of jail free card, and you get to bonk everyone like at least once. Then you could upgrade that. You can do this confusion move where you can do like Jedi mind tricks on people. That works in like side quests. Like you'll be talking to someone, they're like, I'm not letting you through this door. And you're like, you will let me through this door. And you gotta give them a reason of why they're gonna let you through. That's cool. And you can do it in combat, turn an enemy against another enemy to like even the odds, because the gameplay is much, much better. Not only because you have all these stances and all these new force abilities, but there's much more variations of enemies, and there's much more of them in general. Jedi Fallen Order, kind of where it falls flat, is that there's just not as many enemies. It's kind of a criticism I have with The Last of Us Part 1, where the encounters are few and far between, and you can memorize them very, very easily, and they're not very dynamic. They're usually just like a group of people or whatever, and you kind of just get it over with. And then this sequel, there's so many more variations. There's so many more of them. All the enemies can do much more stuff, much more dynamic combat. It's a lot more fun. Combat's just much, much better. There's several open worlds. There's like 2 big open worlds. And they're like real open worlds too. They're kind of still in the Metroidvania aspect where it's like an open world, right? But they're very densely packed. So it's not like you're running out, call back to Elden Ring. You're not running out in this, Elden Ring, gigantic open world. Very impressive. But could it have been smaller and been a bit more compact? Maybe. The open world in Jedi Survivor, very compact, full of shit. You never feel like you're just walking around nothing. So much stuff to get. Great. And then there's a ton of other planets. There's like 4 or 3 other planets that are more linear. And those are also a great change of pace as well. There's side quests that send you down unique areas, caves, things to do that actually feel tangible, rather than you just like going into a cave and fighting like a special boss and then getting like, I don't know, a skin for your poncho again. Very, very cool. Customization is much, much better. So speaking of customization, you could really only change your poncho and the color of it, and maybe like your clothes underneath, and then your little robot named BD1, and that's fine. But in Survivor, you have clothing that you can change and mix and match your clothing, and it's all modular, so you can have a special shirt over a jacket, or you can take off your jacket and you can mix and match, and you have like your pants. Lightsaber customization is much more interesting. You can customize your blaster. BD1, instead of just having skins, he has parts that you can swap out. Very, very cool. And then you can also change Cal's hairstyle and beard. So I won't lie, most of his hair looks terrible, but that's all personal preference. So you can make Cal out to be what you want him to look like.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, I really don't like the way Cal looks. He kind of looks like too manly. Honestly, I kind of don't believe his transition from kind of like this small kid who's like scraping by to this like manly force of nature. And then I was able to customize him to be sort of how I saw my Cal. And that was really good, because once I found it, I was like, oh, now I'm really into this. I love the way he looks. And I like the fact that other people can also get that experience. But I don't like most of the customization for his hair and his beard, because I just think it looks. You can make him like a fucking skinhead, and it looks weird. Like I just don't like the way Cal looks. Meanwhile, in like Red Dead 2, you can make Arthur like this like pretty boy, and you're like, oh, I believe Arthur looks like that. And then you could also make him like this skinhead murderer, and you also believe that that's what he would look like. It works. But yeah, I really like Jedi Survivor. It looks great. A big part of the problem with Fallen Order is that it kind of didn't really look that good. The sound was kind of whatever.
Did you
and
play
the performance was bad? What?
Did you play the Series X version of Fallen Order?
I did.
Okay.
I also played the original version when it came out, and the performance was horrible. And then the performance in the Series X version still isn't amazing. It's like much better. I didn't have many issues, but it still wasn't great. Survivor looks phenomenal, has great design of these like alien worlds. They feel so full of life and have so much color, and like the weather and the water looks great. So densely packed with foliage and design and unique design details. And it ran great. It just ran great. Holy shit! What the fuck is wrong with me today?
Summer,
I think I'm just
Dog days.
Yeah, I'm just talking way too long in like bursts. So that's kind of. I really liked it. Very impressed. Good. And yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Good. I'm glad that it ran well, because that was a big problem when it came out. Like, it got actually bashed in reviews for having really bad performance, especially on PC. So I'm glad they ironed some of that stuff out.
Dude, on my college news station, I did a review of Fallen Order, and I did that exact same shit.
Yeah, Fallen Order.
Out to
They had the same issues with Fallen Order, and then when Survivor came out, they did the same thing again. Like, I don't understand why they didn't take a little bit of extra time to polish it, but I guess they got there eventually.
Yeah, they fixed it. I think it's fine now. The only problem is that the game really chugs in this weird like physics puzzle that you can do, where you can make BD1 like shoot out purple goop that can like light on fire. It's like GTA 5, like gasoline can mechanics. And that shit will make your thing chug so fast. And it's really funny. But yeah.
Do you have any interest in reading the book that takes
no,
place between
I heard
games?
It's bad.
Really?
No, I heard it's terrible. Okay. I just read a thread the other day that it's like horrible.
Huh. I mean, I'm not a big reader, so I probably wouldn't even know if it was good or bad, but I don't know. Did you look up what happens at least?
No, because I don't really care. I don't really... It seems like... I kind of like the idea of it being a mystery of what happened. Like, you start the game, and your whole crew is gone. Grease, Marin, Seer, they're just gone. And it's kind of implied in the very beginning that they got into a big fight, a big disagreement of what was going on, because Cal is just like, we need to fight the Empire because that's literally all I know how to do. And everyone else was getting tired of it. They're like, what are we really doing? We're fighting against a force that cannot be really reckoned with right now. I know you want to fight, but there's better ways to improve the galaxy. And they kind of like all do that in their own way, and Cal kind of continues to fight. And that's all I needed. I didn't need a whole book to tell me that. I get it. I think they did it tastefully. I think it made sense, and it made me be like, oh, what happened? I wonder what's going to happen when I see them. And then, we get those reunions. They're bittersweet. Some of them are sweet. Some of them are like bittersweet, and that is very rewarding to play through. I didn't need to read a book. And also, I don't know if I can read an extended universe book. I'm not that much of a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm not a Star Wars fan at all. Almost everything I know about Star Wars comes from the video games, so that's like when they really pull it off in the games, I think it's a lot more effective than trying to do a comic or a book or anything.
Yeah, before jumping into this, I read a review that was like, this is the best Star Wars game in 20 years. I was like, all right, fucking relax. And now I've finished it, and I'm like, damn, they're kind of right. They kind of right, though.
Do you think this is the end of Cal? Do you think there's going to be a trilogy? Do you think he'll show up in like a Disney Plus show or something?
I believe that I believe from what I've read, there is going to be a final game. I think it's going to be a trilogy. That's kind of how Star Wars works.
Yeah.
I kind of hope they do find a fitting end to him, because it's like, I don't see this being a type of series that would benefit from they keep just making games and they just keep it going. Cal's story seems to be... The ending of this game seems to be pointing towards some type of finale. It seems to be pointing towards a next step. And we'll see what that next step means. I think the game ends very interesting. Fallen Order definitely reads as the type of game where they were just like, this might not get a sequel, so we're just kind of just gonna contain it and we're gonna finish it and we'll see what happens. Survivor ends and they're like, there's more. There has to be more, and the next game has to be the conclusion. That's kind of how the ending reads. And I like the ending quite a bit. I didn't think that that's how they were going to end it at all, but I really did like it. They had really good reveals. There was lots of great reveals in this game, you know?
Yeah, if there's something Respawn's good at, it's plotting out a well-paced story.
Yeah, well, they didn't do it good in Fallen Order.
Well, that was also their first non-shooter campaign in, 10 years?
Yeah.
Is that the first non-shooter thing they ever made that was single player? It might be.
I don't know. Possibly. I don't really know what Respawn is known for, to be honest with you.
Titanfall.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and Apex Legends.
Yeah, well, those guys should be proud of Survivor. It's just, and the cutscenes are good. It's great. Dialogue is great. It's just great. It's a great game all around.
Yeah,
it's just the only flaw I can think of. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go for it.
Yeah, the only flaw I can think of is that sometimes this is a flaw that Sekiro has, from my memory, is that kind of the combat can kind of get a little silly once there's like a ton of enemies on screen. But Survivor kind of like plays that to its advantage because it really goes like. If you get like, I don't know, I was playing the other day and I was fighting like an AT walker. No, right? Is that what it is? ATST?
Yeah, something like that.
AT walker's the big one. ATST is the small ones with 2 legs. I was fighting like 2 ATSTs and like 3 guys with flamethrowers, and it was just carnage. And I got hit so much and it felt so jank, but it also was still like kind of fun. So it was like, okay. Sometimes a game's jank is fun. Sometimes the game's jank is not fun. And I don't really know why that is.
And we got a whole episode trying to hash that out if you'd like to go listen to it.
We do. We certainly do. Before we move on, though.
Yep.
I want you to look. I think the best part of the game is the alien designs. The alien designs are so fucking funny. I want you to look up Turgle.
Oh, I've seen Turgle.
Dude, I love Turgle.
I love Turgle as well. I'm looking at him right now. He looks like he's from Ratchet and Clank. That's like, he looks like a cartoon character. He does.
They went so hard on the alien designs. I feel like so much media plays it safe with their alien designs. It's like those criticisms of like fantasy media where it's like the male orc, female orc, and it's just like a human painted green or whatever. It's like, that's kind of how I felt like it was going to be, but no, Turkle's so funny. They have a ton of designs like that. And there's another thing. Look up Spammel, Spamel, Spammel Star Wars. They're so funny. They're so big.
Spammel. Oh my god.
They're so funny.
Looks like a antlion, but like with a weird like kimono dragon.
Yeah, it has like a non-face, and I think it's so funny because the first time I saw it, they were like, "We need to get the Spammel to go through the desert." And I'm like, "What the fuck's a Spammel?" And I saw it in the distance, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's a little like." He's like, That's like the noise it makes. It's so funny.
Yeah, I want to check this one out for all the funny things and all the cool stuff you were mentioning, because I really did get bored of Fallen Order and fall off, but from what you've said, it sounds like this one is probably the one for me. So I'm gonna check it out.
I do genuinely recommend this to most fans of Star Wars. I think this is great. I think you should just like play through Fallen Order, just blast through it. You can really, if you're just focusing on the objectives, you can just finish it like super easy, like really fast, and then jump into Survivor. I really like Survivor. I'm in between like an 8 and a 9.
Wow.
For Survivor.
I wouldn't.
I know.
Even for an open world situation, I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, I'm just as surprised. I don't know what I was expecting, but I came into it and I just really enjoy it. I think it's a really, really good game. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. I was going to talk a little bit about Final Fantasy XIV. But I think it's going to take me a while to get all my thoughts off my chest, and we're kind of coming on time. So I think I'm going to hold that for the next episode.
Okay.
All I'll say is that a while ago, I said on the podcast that if I ever hit my lowest point in life, I would start Final Fantasy XIV. let me tell you, I'm playing that game right now. So we're gonna.
Jesus Christ.
Things are going on.
This does not strike joy as I thought it would.
On right now.
Yeah.
And Final Fantasy 14, it's been making things a lot better for me. But yeah, let's move on. Do some fun little bonus segments to round out the show.
Yes, please.
I want to bring back Jake's Indie Corner because me and you had a conversation whenever you were in town in Pittsburgh that kind of got me thinking about this whole thing, and I kind of just want to talk about it on the pod for people who might not be aware, or just to start a dialogue with you of like, I just feel like voicing my appreciation for this. It's a company called Strange Scaffold, and they're a developer and publisher. It's one of those studio publisher deals where there's like a guy that's like the guy that you think of, like Reggie for Nintendo, or you know, that kind of thing. His name's Xavier Nelson Jr., and he's been making the rounds on like all the podcasts and all the media outlets and everything. He's a very big person on like Twitter and social media. He has a big presence, and his whole thing with this studio, Strange Scaffold, is they want to make games that are cheap and fast to make, but have such a good idea that they just, you don't, like, they're designed in the Blumhouse fashion of...
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, we know this is gonna be a low-budget game, so this is the idea we came up with to use that budget, which means that the finished product is usually gonna be a lot more tight and concise. And so far, it's really, really worked out for them. So they've made, probably their biggest hit so far is called El Paso Elsewhere, which is a first-person shooter that takes place in like a weird, like almost gothic style. Like there's vampires and werewolves and that kind of stuff. And it's a sequel to a game I believe called El Paso Nightmare or something like that. But for some reason, this one just really blew up. It looks really good. I haven't tried it yet. But they're getting a movie with Lakeith Stanfield as the lead, and the game has like an incredibly small budget. And it came out, I'm gonna have to look up when it came out, but it came out last year. And this studio's next game is already about to come out because they come up with an idea and they're like, I just want to make a game that's just that idea, and I only need so much money to fuel that idea because it's quite simple, and then let's just go all in on this one thing. And so they also made Airport for Aliens Run by Dogs. Have you ever seen that one?
What the fuck are you talking
right,
about?
it's just it's like these weird games where it's like, I want to make a game about an airport for aliens run by dogs, and I just want that's
what
the
am
idea.
I looking at? What the fuck am I looking at? Is PNG's dogs?
Yeah, it's bizarre, but it's like such a good, maybe not good, but it's such a concise idea for a game, and this studio and publisher is like bringing these ideas to life in a way that's sustainable in the industry right now that is so volatile, and you see so many people getting laid off and so many big budget games getting canceled because they're just unsustainable to keep making Jedi Survivors for $8 billion with 600 people working on them, and then it comes out and one reviewer like fell through the world at the beginning, so it gets review bombed and then no one buys it. You know what I mean? Like it's refreshing to see someone taking a unique approach and finding success. And
that is really nice.
Yeah, that's just what I wanted
this
to
also
put that out there.
Reminds me of that thing you sent me a while ago. What was it? Tiny Dog Studio?
Tiny Dog Studio, yeah.
Tiny Dog Studio on like Game Boy Advance or DS or whatever.
Czar game. Yeah, I think it was GBA.
Jesus Christ, dude. That's really nice. We should you know what we should do? We should have a link to these publishers' stocks. Go invest in them.
This is not financial advice.
No, this
for
is not
legal
financial
reasons.
advice. No, but I like that. I like the fact that you're able to you're up on the indie peoples, and you know about the organizations that are behind them, because I don't do that. So I'm glad you are able to.
I used to. It used to be my thing. I was like an indie game guy. It was the only thing I played. It was the only thing I could afford, really, and I was super into it. I've fallen away from that a lot since I got back into console gaming a couple of years ago, and I want to get back to it, so that's why I'm making an effort to like know who's making these games, what's worth looking at, and what indie devs are like, you know, on the up and up, and which ones, you know, maybe aren't getting as much attention that probably deserve it. My problem is I can't really afford to buy that many games, even if they're cheaper indie games, so a lot of what I do is just kind of like appreciating the artistry, and then hopefully one day I'll be like, oh yeah, that game, and I'll come back to it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But the thing the thing that inspired this is that the Strange Scaffold, this guy's company, I read an interesting article about them, that it's basically like he kind of is like the linchpin, and then he has a web of contractors where it'll be like someone brings this guy an idea, and he'll be like, all right, I know this person, and this person. They sound like they'd be into that. Let me contact them. Let's bring them in and have them be the ones working on it. So it's not like the same set of people working on it all the time. And then it got me thinking, because they're making a game called Clickolding, which I had told you about, which is...
Oh, Jesus.
Let me read the Steam description. The man in the corner of your hotel room wants you to click something. He wants to watch you click it. Clickolding is a dark, incremental narrative game about thumbing a tally counter to satisfy the distressed masked man sitting in the corner of your hotel room. It's such a fascinating concept, and people they put real man hours into making a game about clicking a button. And this guy was like, yeah, let's do that. I think I know people that would be into a clicking button, weird sexualized man in the corner game. And they did it, and it's coming out. It only took a couple months to make it. I just think that's awesome.
It's gotta go somewhere weird, right? I mean, it's already weird, but it's gotta run deeper. I mean,
right? You look at the trailers for it, it's very inscription coded, like you're in a room, there's definitely secrets in the room. It has like a bizarre, weird, like jazz style soundtrack. Like everything's surreal, so you have to imagine there's gonna be like some kind of twist,
right?
But I think it's fascinating that like you're not gonna see a game that dark or just strange being made for profit, but they are doing that, and it's probably going to be successful based on their track record. And I'd like to learn a lot more about them and like how this all works to see what their keys to success are. So I'm gonna keep an eye on them. So you'll probably hear me talk about them again in Jake's Indie Corner at some point.
I might, if it's receivable, I might hop into it. I like stuff that makes me feel weird.
Yeah, and I like clicker games. So
I watched Dream Scenario the other day. I watched it literally yesterday. Finally, I've been talking about Dream Scenario for like half a year. Finally got around to seeing it. Hurt.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be funny. It hurt.
Oh.
I feel bad. I mean, it was funny.
That's the Nick Cage one, right?
Yeah. I had a stomach ache after.
Oh man.
I think it's because I was just so caught off guard. And you know what? I like that. I want this game to make my stomach hurt.
I feel like it will.
I know it won't. Yeah, I know it won't because I know that something's weird. I went into Dream Scenario and I was like, this is going to be really funny. And then it was just like so tragic.
Yeah.
And then my stomach hurt. But I still will enjoy it just as much. I just won't have the stomach ache, which is better, actually.
It's true. Sometimes you just need a good spook.
Yes, I feel as bad, but not with the stomach ache.
There you go.
It's just a win-win. All right. Let's move on.
Yeah. All right. So that last thing on that comes out in 2 days, that game we're talking about, and their next game comes out a month after that because they're pumping them out. So keep an eye on them.
Good for them.
Move on to a little segment we like to call Remember That. Here's where the jingle would play if we had one.
Yeah.
Little bursts.
Yeah.
Little bursts of nostalgia from mine and Jonathan's childhood or past that we just want to it's not a big commitment. We don't have to launch into a whole podcast episode discussion about it. We're just like, dude, remember that thing? And then we'll talk about it for a little bit, and I hope you like it. What you got?
Dude. Have you heard of Left Shark?
Dude. No, tell me about Left Shark. I don't know what that is.
Left Shark was this... Okay, Katy Perry did this Super Bowl show. This Super Bowl is some type of football game.
Bro, I'm going to put Left Shark in the thumbnail.
Yeah, and this guy, they did the show, and she had two sharks, and one shark knew what he was doing. And then Left Shark was just going off the rails. He was going crazy. What the fuck's up with that? Was he drunk? Was he on drugs, dude?
Was he on drugs, dude?
Was he? What's going on with Left Shark?
Come on. Hit me with a real one. Hit me with a real one.
Okay. I feel bad because I feel like I copped out on this segment. Because you filled out your segment after I did, and I was kind of doing like a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, like for like a remember when for us. Because I was gonna say, dude, remember Lethal Company? What happened to that? What's going on with that?
Listen, I gotta tell you something. I don't think you're gonna want to hear it.
Oh, what?
I never liked playing Lethal Company. I never liked it.
Why are you dropping this bomb on me?
Because I'll play it
Why'd
again.
you lie
I'll
for
play
so
it again
long?
one day. But I know. Here's the thing. I had fun because I was playing with you and friends and like doing stupid shit. But I don't like Lethal Company. I think it's a bad game.
Oh, the actual game? No, I don't like it. No.
And
I think it's funny.
It is funny. It's definitely funny. I don't know if the funnies that I was getting from it were worth me sitting there being like, for 20 minutes at a time. But they were funny. I can't deny.
It's one of those things that the better you are at it, the worse it gets. When we go through, what?
I don't know. I feel like I never got good at it, and like we never really made progress, and that was kind of why I didn't like it, because I was like,
nah.
I'm having such a boring time playing this, and I don't feel like we're gonna progress and succeed, so I'm just gonna do something stupid to make it funny, and then that just ends the game. Maybe that's what it was designed for, and I certainly had a lot of laughs. I can't deny that.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I got it. I got it because it was funny, and then I kind of got all I needed out of it, and it was generally pretty spooky going into it. When we first got through it, it was generally pretty spooky because it's just like, ooh, what's going to happen? You never know what's going to come out of the corner. But now we kind of know. We kind of just know everything. Not like everything, but we kind of know most of it.
There's so much stuff we never even saw, though, because we never could get there. And I didn't want to really commit the time to getting good at the game because I didn't think it was worth it, to be honest.
Yeah, it definitely should have been like mission-based or more like randomized and just like easier to see more of the content. Maybe something like Phasmophobia, something like that. I don't know. It's terribly structured. I will admit, terribly fucking structured.
Yeah, and I think it definitely fell off a lot faster than that kind of game normally does. Like they got their skin in Fortnite, and I don't think I've heard anyone talk about it since then.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of, what was the other one? What was it, like the one, the really colorful one?
Content warning.
Lethal Company? Content warning, yeah. I wonder if that's better.
I think that might have something to do with why it died, though. Because like you think about these super viral games that come out or like get popular, like Among Us or Fall Guys or Vampire Survivors or whatever, and it takes a little bit of time before everyone and their mama starts making like shovelware ripoffs of it. Content warning came out like a month after Lethal Company blew up, so I think people were like, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah, It was a fun pastime for the month of November.
Yeah, I look back on it with mixed feelings. I remember some of the funniest moments, but I also remember dying over and over again because of bullshit reasons.
Of quicksand.
Yeah.
Before we even see a monster, and we don't see another monster for 40 minutes. If they address that, I mean, I'm not against taking another plunge just for like another like 5 hours or so, but it's not like a hop on, we're playing Lethal Company, you know.
Get a Discord gif of a jacked guy get on Lethal Company.
Get on Lethal Company. That's just not going to happen.
I think
it's not happening.
I'd be willing to try it again with some mods. I think.
I know you've been down for the mods since day one.
Yeah, because I just feel like let's just make the game fun. That way I don't have to really think about the game, and I can just think about the funnies. You know, like that's all I was.
You're right.
I was trying to balance like actually playing a game and also making my friends laugh, which, as we all know, is quite tough.
Yeah, when you actually have to play the game, it just falls apart. And you know what? It's not really a good philosophy, ain't it?
Yeah, that's why I stopped streaming. To be honest with you, it was too much for me to maintain like actually keeping a conversation going and playing a real game, and not just like a Among Us type situation. Which I guess that talking is the game, so that's a bad example.
Right.
But you know what I mean.
If I ever stream, I would only stream games I played before, so I don't have to.
Yeah. All right, let me think. Do you remember back in the day when you would get like really cool shit for pre-ordering games at GameStop?
Yes, I do.
What are some of your favorite goodies that you've gotten over the years?
So, I wasn't really a pre-order girly, unfortunately, so I don't really have a lot of examples. I've gotten some special editions of weird games, like after the fact. Like, I found a copy of The Alliance Alive, which is this obscure 3DS game, and it came with a keychain of a little penguin with a big hat that you've definitely seen, because I love it so much. Yep. And it came in like an art book and stuff, and like that's cute. But I'll tell you a little horror story I have. I pre-ordered both Fire Emblem Birthright and Conquest and Revelations.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Because I loved Fire Emblem at that time, and guess fucking what? I still do. And I haven't mentioned Fire Emblem on this podcast in like, dude, probably since Engage came out.
You needed a break.
I did, but I used to mention Fire Emblem on every single episode of the podcast, and I needed to violently try to convince people that I am not a fucking weeb, and I don't only play Fire Emblem, and I haven't talked about it in a while. I'm talking about it again, because I pre-ordered all 3 versions of Fire Emblem Fates, because I loved Fire Emblem at that time, and you were supposed to get these fucking keychains of all these chibi versions of the royal family, you know, like Xander and Ryoma, and I don't really remember who else. Probably like Elise, I guess. Camilla? I don't remember. I know the names. I just don't remember which ones are keychains. And I went over, picked up all my shit, and then I left. And the next day I went to school, and my friend had the keychains, and I went, oh, fuck. They forgot my goddamn keychains. And I've never lived that down.
You didn't like go back with the receipt or anything? It's too much hassle.
No, I had to take a bus, and then I had to go. I don't know if I had the receipt, and I was just like, I was also, how old was I? When did Fates come out? 2014?
Yeah.
I was only like 13, 14 at the time. I didn't have the nuts in me to do that.
Fair, yeah.
So, no, I just let it slip by.
Damn. Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have any horror stories. I don't. Oh, yeah, you know what? Fucking you know the story. When I pre-ordered Smash Brothers Ultimate, and the dude at the GameStop made fun of me for paying $100 to get the Pro Controller version.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, that's how much that cost? Okay. And then went and grabbed it for me. I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
But no, this was inspired because the other day when we were at the used game store, I got the copy of Soul Calibur 4 that came with a t-shirt. Didn't have the t-shirt, obviously, but it reminded me of when games would come in that big box with a t-shirt, and I really liked that. Like, this is a weird one. I pre-ordered Titanfall, I think just Titanfall, at GameStop. But apparently, every GameStop, whether it's, I don't know if they franchise them or whatever, but certain stores will do the pre-order stuff and certain stores won't. So I didn't even know there was a pre-order bonus for Titanfall. I just wanted to go to the midnight launch, so I pre-ordered it. And then, like, I want to say, like, 4 years later, I went to a different GameStop to buy a PS Vita. And while I was there, the guy was like, oh, it looks like you never got your Titanfall pre-order bonus. Do you want it? And I was like, I guess. And then he came out with a t-shirt that they held on to for 4 years. I don't have it anymore, I don't think. But I was like, that's just weird. But I remember it used to be like a t-shirt or a CD or I have these really dope Pokemon figures. I have Lugia, Ho-Oh, and Giratina from the DS era. Nowadays, it's like what? A keychain, like you're saying, or like DLC? It's DLC.
Not in-game bonuses.
I don't condone pre-ordering unless you think it's going to sell out, because it's just a bad business, or it's good for business, but it's bad for the consumer. So like, I only pre-order when it has a good thing or whatever. And nowadays, I feel like nothing has a good bonus, and nothing's worth pre-ordering unless it's like a collector's edition. So,
I only pre-order. I can't remember the last time I pre-ordered. The only time I've ever pre-ordered is if I wanted to play a game day fucking one. That's the only time I pre-ordered.
Yeah, I only do it for collectors now. Even if it's like I want it day one, I'll manage.
Yeah, I get that.
All right, any other nostalgics you got?
Yeah, I was going to do another cop-out and say, dude, remember Deep Rock Galactic? So we could talk about Deep Rock Galactic, because we haven't played that in a while.
I want to play
instead,
it.
I'm going to... Yeah, we have to. The new season came out, season 5. I think it's called Drilling Deeper. Looks like it got some funny shit. We should jump on that soon.
Yeah, let's do it.
But real answer, I just thought of right now, game manuals, rip.
Yeah.
Those were awesome. Maybe this was just a kid thing, because I was like, ooh, okay, I hit my gaming limit for today that my parents set, so now I have to like kind of occupy my time, so I'm gonna read the game manuals. The game manuals are always so like, man, they just felt special.
They were
And now
special.
they're gone. They usually had like special artwork, and they had like art in the thing, and then kind of give you tutorials and hints and maybe little story details that you that aren't really in the game. They give you some like background and stuff that isn't in the game, and now it's not a thing anymore. It's a thing of the past. It's so sad.
Yeah, I just read a story this morning on Reddit about a guy that found a packet of DMT in his game manual that he got at a used game store. So, you can still get
It's not over.
It's not over. I'm trying to think of. Do you have any like? This is a nerd ass question to ask, but do you remember? Like, do you have a manual that you're like, that is the best one? Like, it sticks out to you.
I really liked. I had 2 in mind. One was the Wind Waker manual, because it had a lot of artwork for that Link of like doing things like chasing pigs or like just sitting down and just like grinning. And it's just a lot of like interesting artwork, and I just liked the way it was all like set up, and I thought it was cute. But the one that I really remember very vividly that I read through a lot was the Super Smash Bros. Melee manual, because it had all the base characters, and it broke down all their special moves, and it gave you little blurbs of all their special moves, and a little visual, and I just thought that was really cool, and I would just read that. It was awesome.
Yeah, I don't have too many nowadays that I can really remember sticking out. I know the one for, it was either Kirby's Epic Yarn or Kirby's Return to Dreamland was like completely stylized, and it was really, really neat looking. So I honestly would just flip through it just to look at the pictures, and that's what we're missing nowadays.
Yeah, it is. It is just. I just miss the extra mile that games had.
Yeah, and sometimes you need it nowadays. I wish they were around. Like, I genuinely do, because recently I started trying to collect some of the modern Final Fantasies, and whenever I get a used game, one of the first things I do is go through the manual to see if it's damaged, but also like if I'm in the car ride home or whatever, I like to just flip through it, see what the game's about. I'm like, I already know I want to play this, so I bought it, but like, let's see maybe there's something I didn't know here. And for as many problems as Final Fantasy 13 has, their manuals go so hard. I have one, I'm looking at it right now because I was like, is this what I'm thinking of? And yeah, like, they explain everything in the game so comprehensively and in such great detail that is like super easy to follow. And I need that. Like, when I'm playing, I'm trying to think of like Elden Ring even, or like any like modern RPG, sometimes I need that manual because I don't want to just look up it on IGN. It's almost like
a guide.
Yeah.
It's like a guidebook in a way.
Mm-hmm. Or like the Earthbound manual. Can't go wrong with Earthbound. That you ever play the Wii U version where it came with the manual?
Oh, I do. I have not, but I do like how lots of these digital versions of games, of older games, do actually come with a manual as like a supplement. I think that's awesome. The Castlevania games did that. The Castlevania collection has manuals in it, and I think most of the Konami games do like collections do that, and I love that because it also tells you how to play the fucking game. You kind of needed the manuals because you like you said, you need the manuals sometimes because it tells you how to play the goddamn game.
Yeah, I think honestly, I would rather them have a really cool manual that I can reference at any time than a really long tutorial in any game.
Ooh, I don't think that would ever take off.
I don't think so either, but I'm thinking of, okay, it's notorious that the tutorials in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 were abysmal, but if they were written out in a manual where they had a lot more space to write and I could just go back to it at any time without having to like navigate through the menus and whatnot, I can just like, go to the index and be like, what am I doing? And look at it again. I feel like I could have wrapped my head around it a lot better. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a me thing, I think.
No, I get that. I understand. Even if you are a little crazy.
All right. All right, I'm going to give you one more. Do you remember
Okay.
Touchmaster?
I have a sealed copy of Touchmaster at my house.
Why?
Because I was never interested enough to open it, and my brother wasn't either. So it's just a sealed copy of Touchmaster in my home. Was it good?
It was a game. There were 4 of them. They all
Jesus.
had like the same games on them, but they also added like a few every time. But let me tell you, my dad loves Touchmaster. He still plays Touchmaster 1 and 2 today.
He has a DS?
Yeah, he's a red DS Lite.
Was it your DS that you gave it to him, or
It was,
he bought his own?
I had a DS for a regular, the fat boy trapezoid DS for a very short period of time, because I want to say my dad or maybe my mom got it at like a swap meet or like a used sale or something, and then the DS Lite came out right after that, and I think somewhere along the line they just thought it was a whole new thing, and they were like, this fucking DS keeps him shut the fuck up. He just goes in the corner and plays it all day. I'm just gonna give him the new one so he stays not bothering me. And it was like, it's just, it's the same thing. And I told him that, and he was like, oh, okay. So then I gave him the DS, and I had the DS Lite, and then I think I broke. Whenever I got the DSi, then he inherited the DS Lite, and he's been using it ever since.
Wow, that's crazy.
And he only plays Touchmaster 1 through 3 and like some weird Texas Hold'em game. But
I mean, it's all you need.
guess what they have in Touchmaster? Texas Hold'em. So I'm like, what are you doing?
They do.
I don't know.
They do. I don't need Balatro. I see
It's
Texas
like
Hold'em.
51 worldwide classics. I think that those, like Touchmaster, those kinds of games, I think everyone should have them, because think about it. Everyone's been in that one weird mood where you're like, I could really go for like a game of chess right now. Like it's very fleeting. It's very far and few between where like, man, I got nothing to do. I'm bored of all my games. I don't want to watch anything. I could really just like play solitaire right now. You know what? I know you know what I'm talking about.
I want you to know I don't, because I've never felt that. However, I felt a sister feeling of that feeling, in which when I see people playing poker in media, I want to play poker in real life, and I frequently dream about me and my friends playing poker in a dimly lit room, smoking cigarettes in tank tops and jeans.
Why didn't you ever bring this up before? We could have made that happen.
I thought I did,
I've never heard
and
you say that
then
before.
I guess I didn't. Really? I've never said that before?
Not to me, and I would be so down. I probably wouldn't smoke the cigarettes, but I might bust out a stogie.
Yeah. I wouldn't do the cigarette. I think I would do the cigar. I think I would do a cigar. I've never smoked before, though, so I don't think it's a good idea. But it's just like, I don't know. I want to feel like an Italian mobster in a prison.
Right, and we gotta have like no air conditioning, weird little like ceiling fans about to fall off. It's middle of summer.
Sweating a little bit. Peanuts.
It sounds nice. It really does. As miserable as it sounds nice.
It's like one of those things where I don't know. Books you have to read before you die. Things you have to do before you die. That.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we're men.
Oh yeah.
If I finally grow this beard in.
All right. Well, let's make it happen.
Okay.
Maybe by the next episode we'll have done that, and we'll let you know. I genuinely do want to do that at some point. I'm not even fucking around.
Tabletop simulator.
Ooh, that's.
I got it. I got it.
I got it too. Let's get on that.
We have to.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to our reviews and our episode of Nonsense today. We'll be back in a couple weeks with our mid-year recap, 2024 in review so far. Again, in the comments, on Instagram, wherever you want to, let us know what's the best game you played in 2024. So, thank you for watching, and until next time, we will
See ya.